Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, V-Cycle Nutters, first timers to my channel, and people that watch all my videos. Appreciate y'all. So, next video doing is I'm going to test the Two Brothers Racing full system on my 24 MT09. Just got it in the other day. Unpackaging it, taking a look at it. So, it did come with the DB killer pre-installed into the muffler. The muffler end cap, that really nice carbon fiber end cap, held on by 4 screws that had some permanent Loctite on them. They were a little difficult to get off, but nothing too crazy. And then an additional 2 screws that held the DB killer. And so it was a little bit of work to get it out, but nothing too crazy. Looking at the exhaust, it's going to be an easy install because it's basically installed all the way back to the canister. So no wondering about where tube goes where or anything like that. Has some nice thick anodized flanges on it that look like they won't bend. It's got a nice wideband connector in there for my wideband O2 sensor. Got it at a nice angle instead of the normal square. Small details, but I do like that. Comes with an adapter for each of the stock narrowband, and if you want to block off the hole completely, it does come with that. Came with an O2 extender, and so if we want to hook up on the 24 to keep our cruise control working, it did come with an O2 extender for that. Just a side note, I keep getting I've gotten a fair amount of calls lately on people using O2 extenders that are wired wrong, so then they plug them in and their cruise control still doesn't work. And so one of the things you can do to check that before you even install it is just make sure none of the wires jump pins to where they're at. So as long as it starts in the same location and coming back, you won't have a problem. I guess it's an easy thing to switch around because, like I said, I've been getting a fair amount of them. Quality exhaust seems pretty good. It's pretty light, 8.5 pounds. That's on one of the lighter ones. Well, it seemed okay, nothing crazy, nice, but not horribly. I've definitely seen worse. And the canister, like I said, got that nice carbon end cap on it. It's a small canister, so without the DB killer, it is definitely going to be loud. And then I will test it both in and out. I'm not real crazy about the logo. They're just me. With the welds on it, I guess it kind of gives a little industrial look. Not horrible, but, you know, not great. And I'm happy to report no clamps. No big band clamps, and this fits in really, really nice and easy. So it did come with instructions also. Good on Two Brothers for that. We know a lot of them don't come with them. So, and a spring pooler. So not bad, not bad. So I will get this bolted up, let you know if there's any things I struggled with. We get some dyno clips, runs me with it on the bike, all the normal stuff. I will get it fully mapped out on the street and the dyno and report back, guys. Thanks. So I'm in the process of installing the Two Brothers Racing exhaust on my 24 MT09. The header went on really easy, like I suspected. I got it loose enough to take away any alignment issues. I've removed this bracket that sits up here like we remove in most. And what it's telling me to do is to bolt that to the back side of that with the bolt supplied from the factory, which fits there. But so it'd be from the back side. But the problem is the hole isn't big enough. So I'm gonna get a bolt that's close to that diameter, longer, and put a nut on the back of it. Not everybody has a bag of bolts like I do, or a box of bolts and all kinds of spare bolts. So something to take note. I mean, you could drill a larger hole there, but shouldn't have to. But not a huge deal, but a little disappointing. The Two Brothers is completely on, and besides the pre-mentioned bolt that didn't fit just right, everything went on easy. Not really crazy looking about the springs. Kind of looks a little unfinished, but not a bad looking exhaust. I said it's loud. Get you some sound readings. Get all tested and tuned and do all my data logging and all that good stuff, and get you some videos and some results. to everybody's favorite part, the dyno runs. So, as I mentioned when I was assembling it, this exhaust is really loud, like almost like outboard motor loud. I don't know how to quite describe it, but with the DB killer in, it like measurable as far as idle and peak noise really didn't make much difference. Like 75 at idle with it out and 73 with it in, both register greater than 130 decibels. We'll see. It didn't really cause that much power, but you could, I could definitely tell the difference just riding around. It didn't quite have such a raspy kind of dirty sound. I don't know how to describe it, but yeah, this exhaust was without the DB killer was definitely on the louder side and a little bit too loud for me, to be honest. So, but you can run it with both the DB killer in and out, as I'll show in a second. So here we go. Here is where my 24 MT09 started, all stock. Made 107 horsepower. Oh, look at that. You got to love when that stuff just pops up. Yeah, get out of there. Awesome. So 107 horsepower, 65 foot-pounds of torque. Let's see what you get if you bolt the exhaust up with the stock ECU. And you get decent gains, like nowhere really below. We ended up, what's that, about 6 horsepower. I should do the math before ahead of time. It's put a little pressure on me here doing this in my head, but some of them are easy, some are a little harder. But we got almost 3 foot-pounds of torque and about 6 horsepower. No area below the curve. Filled in really kind of nicely here, and then just as we would expect with an aftermarket system, really doing its work between 8 and 10 grand. But we still have that horrible fall off at the top because it's the stock ECU. So let's see what we get when we take, where are we at? Stock airbox, stock 24, stock ECU versus my flash, yay! So when we compare now, where this is just comparing when we bolt it up, the Two Brothers exhaust with the stock ECU to my flash, and you can see we get more gains everywhere, another 6 horsepower almost, and another couple, 2.5 foot-pounds of torque. We can see up here where the old bike was falling off and it's still carrying. It's actually about 13 horsepower there. You know, let's not claim 13 horsepower gains. It's more of a 6 horsepower gain over the old peak. But this is real usable power where we would ride the bike, and that is a pretty large difference. Let's see where we're at now compared to where we started with stock. Let's see, stock 24, there we go. And if we look at that, we can see now got 17 horsepower at that spot, about 11 point something peak gains, and 5 point something, or almost, yeah, 5.5 foot-pounds of torque. And you can see it's just better everywhere. The curves, we lost that dip that we had there before, and now it's a little smoother. This is just the characteristics of the motor and everything. So, but you can see really nice gains, very much night and day difference. And as I always say, I can't quantify how much better the throttle response is and just how much better the bike feels. Anyone that's had one of my flashes can tell you that now, especially that some of these recall bikes that people are getting recalls, and when they have to go back to the stock mapping, I've gotten tons of emails and phone calls of just they forgot how bad the stock mapping was when comparing it to mine. So this is with the stock airbox. Let's see what happens if we change from the stock airbox to the DNA lid. Stock airbox versus DNA stage 2 lid. And like on most of these, what we get is we get a nice bump between, let's call it a nice bump, between 5 and 7,500. You can see here right around 6,250 where we ride a lot, right? There are some substantial gains, like 4 foot-pounds of torque and 5 horsepower. That's one of the things nice about this cursor, where you can really see these. You look at the peak number on this one, it was barely affected. Actually, the DNA Stage 2 lid popped a little higher number, which is a bit unusual, and these were like a day apart, so they're legit. So DNA lid worked really well with this setup. It was noticeable to me, this additional, the way the bike felt at part throttle was really quite noticeable. So let's look at if we did the DNA lid versus stock, and not surprising, it's just really crazy. So now here, right where we ride the most, a full 10 horsepower gain, 8 foot-pounds of torque, just really a nice combination. As I mentioned earlier, I did testing with the DB Killer in versus the DB Killer out, and as expected, about a 2 horsepower decrease across the board, or at least starting from about 4 to 5,000 RPMs. For me, like I said, the bike without the DB Killer in it just really had a raspy sound, wasn't really greatly enjoyable to me. With the DB Killer in, it was somewhat better, but if you're going to get this exhaust, make sure you like them loud. Air fuel didn't change much with the in and out, hence why I'm not posting it. And so with the flash, you can run the DB Killer in or out. So thanks guys for watching. Remember that subscribe and like button for more motorcycle related content. Next, I got a little surprise for you, so we'll get that next one up here hopefully in a week or so. So thanks guys, take care.